Alright, this is an update to my review of the Bubble Magus Curve 5 Protein Skimmer, the standard model with a rock pump in it. I believe is either the brand or the line of pump that it uses. It does not use the Seche pump. That would be the Curve 5 Elite, which I forget, I think it's like $50 more or something like that. Anyway, I think this is the model probably most people get because it's a good solid entry-level skimmer, and I've had it running now for 14 months, I want to say. So it's very well broken in. I know all of its quirks, and it's been very, very successful for me despite constantly increasing the bio load in my tank. I've got just in the double digits of fish, 10 or 11 fish. I have a ton of snails, crabs, everything you can imagine, and this thing handles all of it very, very well. So as you can see, it's got solid foam production. Right now there's not a whole lot of bio load happening because my tank hasn't been fed for the day, but it's still cranking bits of foam. I can see it running down and collecting. It has one flaw that people should be aware of long term, and I'll just get that out of the way. The flaw has to do with, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I believe this piece here where the air intake is, I believe that's called a volute, I think I've heard it called. It pulls in water for the pump and then the air line connects to it to generate bubbles. So the little stem at the top of the volute, it's like they made it a few millimeters too small for the volume of air this thing pulls. And because it's small, all the bits of dust and calcification from the air tend to build up in that little stem. And what happens inevitably when that occurs is that you get a skimmer that's chugging or potentially even overflowing. I've had it overflow a couple of times, and I've since just added something to my weekly maintenance routine, which is to take a little screwdriver and kind of twist it around down inside the volute and chip out any calcification that's built up, and that's prevented any more overflows. So it's preventable, but it is annoying. And about once a year, I let this thing go as long as I could, but a couple of months ago there was too much residual calcification in that little volute stem, and what I had to do is take the whole thing apart, and I wondered how long it would last. I mean, you have to maintenance your skimmer, you have to clean it all out. But I had to take it all apart and then go in with a stronger picking tool and really chip it all out of there. So I mean, I have good air quality where I live. There's nothing weird going on that causes that. It's just gonna happen. It's just one long-term flaw of this. And it's really the only long-term flaw that I've identified. So for first-time users, be aware. You have a max and a min setting on this. As you twist and adjust toward minimum, your column of bubbles will go higher. A lot of people think that you go towards max and it's going to max out the amount of bubbles that are coming up. No, it's the other way with this. So keep that in mind. It's easy to take apart. You can see there's little soft screws, rubber screws that go into little plastic flaps that keep the base locked down. And all you do is twist those, pop it off, and expose the pump. You have some more rubber screws for the pump. Take those out, and you can just give your pump a citric acid bath and scrub everything else with a toothbrush or a standard scrub brush, and it cleans up real easily. I guess once a year will probably be my maintenance on it, considering that's how long it took the volute to clog badly. And that one time a year, I mean, it took me, the first time I did it, it took me no more than 30 minutes. So it's very simple. Collection cup size is decent. As you can see, it's not huge. You will have to clean this out every week if you have any kind of bio load, but it's decent for sure. And the cup sits down snug in this ring with a rubber seal around it, and it sits down real tight in there. I'm never worried about it. You do have to kind of brace your hand on it to pull it out because it is sitting snugly in there. It's not loose at all, which I prefer. And I would say the overall quality of it for, I mean, I believe I paid $220 or something for it when I bought it. It's probably a bit more now with inflation. But in this grand scheme of skimmers in this hobby and how preposterous the cost can be, the build quality of this, I've you know, toyed around with other skimmers at fish stores and stuff like that, high-end ones, high-end skimmers, they do feel more, you know, absolutely premium rock solid than this particular one does. But I will say this, it doesn't feel cheap. It's all plastic, it's all acrylic, but I mean, this is no joke plastic thickness on here, right? I mean, it's not like a thin little piece of plastic that they slapped on there and hoped it would work out. They actually respected the end user enough to say, hey, let's spend, you know, $5 more in plastic costs to make this thing durable and make it feel like, yeah, this is a $225 or whatever dollar product, and I feel like that was worth it. And by the way, I feel like it was worth it. Absolutely. And last, I'll just say the pump, you know, all the components feel solid. Not the most solid that ever, but again, solid enough. And the pump has been lights out good. You can hear it when you're up close to the tank. You cannot hear this skimmer when you take a couple steps back, when it's enclosed in your cabinet like this. It's, for the price, way quieter than I expected. And that little pump in there, I actually bought this version instead of the Elite version because people said, hey, this is actually a decent little pump. Even though it's not CJ, like the Elite model, this standard model has a decent pump. And I trusted those people who had experience with it, and that was a good move. Saved me some money. And that pump, just, again, once a year, citric acid bath, pop it right back in, it's good to go. Runs without a hitch until it gets clogged enough that you get a little bit of chugging. And like I said, that took about a year before I started getting hitches in the giddy up. So, no, overall, Bubble Magus Curve 5 standard protein skimmer has done me well, and it'll keep doing me well, hopefully. Got no plans to upgrade it. Yeah, thanks for listening.